Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. Dallas Piana here from Coaches Scaling Secrets. And let me just move this over. There we go. And it's Wednesday, our Facebook Live through Zoom because I don't have the streaming service hooked up. Anyway, if you're just hopping on, say hi. Tell me where you're calling in from. Car, you're sitting waiting in a doctor's office. Maybe you're out grocery shopping or Christmas shopping or, killing time in a parking lot, or maybe you're home. Let me know where you're calling in. And of course, if you're catching the replay, say #replay. Love to see who is watching this live today. So this is a little different, right? I'm going to be talking about how to find clients locally in your own community, in your surroundings, out and about. Okay, we don't talk about that so much. We're always talking about how do you attract clients online, right? Through social media. So I have a list here of 10 different ways to do this, and I'm going to go through each one, and I'm going to give you some of my experiences of doing this myself, and also some expert advice I've heard from other people in my 10 years of being a marketer online. So let's get started. So first of all, obviously you want to know who is your ideal client, right? What is, flush it out, the demographic, the psychographics of who your ideal clients is, what are their problems, where do you think they're hanging out, right? So when we do like the customer avatar worksheet, we look at like, where are they hanging out online? Now I want you to say, well, where would they be in your community? So I'm going to start saying some places, and you're going to start writing these down, okay? Because it may sound like, oh no, you may be resistant to doing it, but let's walk through them because some of these are going to be hot for you. And I believe your local community is much more, because you're like one-on-one, they're feeling your vibe more than online. You're much more easy. It's easier to make a connection. Okay. So clubs. Okay. What kind of clubs? What kind of meetups? Meetups are back now. The pandemic is over. People are meeting up again. There is a site called meetup.com. And then you can look for potential meetups where your ideal client would be hanging out. So for instance, if you are a coach and sell to your client or other coaches, there are meetups to help coaches how to market their business online. They go and sometimes they pay a fee, sometimes they don't. Someone is giving away information. They have expert people come in. You could be one of the experts. So that is a possibility. If you're not a business coach, let's say you're into, color analysis and fashion and stylists, there are women that get together to talk about those things. You want to find out where they're hanging out. Are there special meetups? Are there special networking groups, local networking groups, local clubs that women hang out in, social clubs where women hang out in? If your ideal client is a woman who wants to be around other women, her age, maybe it's by age, think about it by age. There are, so, you got to think outside of the box here, where you normally wouldn't go. You want to start searching, okay? And you can do the search online and then kind of ask the head person, the administrator, or the founder of the group or the club, if you can be a guest. So you can go and kind of test the waters and see if these people are your ideal client, and would it be worth to join for a year? Okay, usually there's some kind of minimal monthly payment, that sort of thing. Sometimes you just pay for lunch, they're meeting for lunch. Okay, clubs, meetup, networking groups specifically for your niche. Okay. Trade shows. Let's talk about trade shows. Now, you can go if you live in a, more of a metropolitan area, like for instance, I live in a suburb of Lake Oswego, of Portland, Oregon. So I would go to the convention center website and look at all the trade shows and exhibits that are coming in for the year for 2023. They're already booked way in advance. And you can look through those and decide which one would have your ideal clients at. Okay, which one of your ideal clients are actually having booths there? And let me give you a secret. You do not get a table. You do not get your own exhibit. You do not get a table. I don't agree doing that at conferences or trade shows or any kind of exhibit halls, because it locks you in. Okay, and if you are at a place where your ideal clients have booths and tables, you want to have the freedom to go around and collect all the business cards of people that have tables there, because those are your ideal clients. And then those people you want to call 5 days later, 3 days later, say, hey, I was at this trade show. I saw your table. I saw that you were busy or not. And I really wanted to talk to you, but I think it's just better if we hop on a chat together on the phone. Are you available for a 10-minute, 20-minute chat? So you're much more able to actually have a conversation with your ideal clients than actually having a conversation with them at their table, because they're servicing a lot of people and they want to get their message out to a lot of people. You're better off just taking their business card and then making an appointment, qualifying them, make an appointment, and actually have a select time, private time to have a conversation with them. Okay, so this is a big tip. This is a tip I got from, way back when, 10 years ago, when I was in network marketing. Okay, big tip from Ray Higdon, who was a huge network marketer. Now he is out of network marketing and just helping network marketers market. Okay, this was a huge tip. He said, do not have an exhibit table. Okay, you want the freedom to walk around and collect all the cards. Okay, and start conversations. Now, you can be a speaker at those events. You can get up and share your spiel for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever time allotment they give you, because people will approach you. I'm sorry, there's blowing outside. I hope you can hear this. All right, so I just lost the feed here. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, hi Kelly. Let's get out there and meet people. You're right. Okay, so that's my tip. Do not lock yourself into a booth. They're expensive. They're a lot of money for those tables. You don't need to be spending money on a table. Okay. Industry conferences. Get out into industry conferences. What's going on in your local community? What is, do a Google search. What is going on? Who's doing speaker events? Perhaps maybe they're at clubs. A lot of these clubs that are social clubs bring in speakers on a particular topic that may be your niche. You can show up and be a participant, pay to attend the conference, and then mingle with the people and start handing out, either collecting business cards, collecting people's names and numbers, see if they want to get on your newsletter, your email list, right? Ask if you want to get on my email list, because then you can plop them into, so that you start marketing that to them on your email list. You can create a separate autoresponder email list just for people you meet in your local community, so you can separate them out from people that you meet out on social media. That's another way to do it as well. What I like to do is, when you collect a business card out in your community, bring a magic marker with you, and you want it so that it doesn't smudge. So you don't want the easy markers. You definitely want a Sharpie that doesn't smudge, because many business cards are glossy. And so if you want something that doesn't smudge. Okay, so pen is hard to write on a glossy business card. And after you meet someone, you want to create on the back or on the front, doesn't matter. If they don't have a photo, you want to say, she's had red hair, she was wearing a blue dress, something to jog your memory, because you're going to be meeting a lot of people out there locally at events. and you want to remember who these people are. And then keywords, like what you would do online, keywords to describe something about that person so that it will jog your memory when you get home. Okay. I'm telling you, this was like great advice that I got early on. Okay. Industry conferences, association meetings. Okay. For instance, I am, I'm a former nurse. Okay. And I market to nurse coaches. So for me, I have joined an association for nurses in business. Okay. Now it is a local group, it's a national group. They're not really in my hometown, but they do conferences once a year. So of course I'm going to go there, right? I'm going to go. Now, I could even become a speaker as well. What I'm not going to do is have a table. I don't want to be locked in. I want to be able to mingle with 300 women that are there that are building their businesses, locally or online. Okay, so that is another avenue for me. So you got to think about, for you, what is your associations associated with your niche? Okay, so if real estate associations, if you're in real estate, if you're in hair care, aesthetics, there are associations or national groups of hair cutters and nail people. And, there's also for fashion. There's also for finance. If you're in finance or sales, there are associations and major conferences. You want to get involved with those things. You want to show up live. Okay. You will make great connections at these events. Okay. So much easier than online. Okay. Any social function, you should be sharing who you help, what you do, and who you help, because you're planting seeds in these people, even if they're not your ideal client, because their sister, their brother, their mother, their best friend, their neighbor may be looking for you. Okay. So you want to be sharing with people that you meet all the time what you do and how you help. All right. And then follow up. For instance, I have a new walking buddy. I just moved. I ran in at the nail salon to a gal from another group that has nothing to do with my business. Okay. It's another group I'm a part of. So we started walking together and then sharing more intimate details of our life. So I'm sharing about that I am a coach to coaches, helping people build their businesses online through Facebook and email marketing. She says, oh my God, I need you. I stopped my business because of the pandemic. Okay. I need to get more resources of people locally, but I want to build it online. So boom, boom. I'm talking, I'm sharing. And she also said, I know somebody else who could use your services. Okay. So I will, the next time I see her, follow up with her and say, let's schedule a time, or get on the phone with her. I have her phone number. Let's schedule a time where we can meet to see how I can serve you. Okay. Talk. Okay. Job boards, local job boards. Okay. You can just type in job boards for your area and see what is available in your niche. Okay. People are looking for people. People are looking for people to help them with stuff. People are stuck. They are looking. Majority of people, that are not like selling online or normal people, they're looking for people, and they use things like Craigslist. They use things like Nextdoor, which I believe is national. I'm sure there are things, if you're, watching from Australia or Europe or, UK, you've got local job boards. You want to look there. You want to get on there and see how you can help people. This is great. Let me tell you, my first client in coaching came from a job board on what was it called? Upwork. Okay. But she was actually in my time zone. She wasn't exactly locally, but she was in my same time zone. And that was great. So got my feet wet right away. So you want to be looking at those things, okay? Especially if you're new and you're looking for more clients or looking for a client. Those are great avenue. Upwork, UP Work, okay? Professional organizations. I think I've already covered that. For instance, nursing organizations or dental organizations. Let's say you help dentists do XYZ. You need to be invited to dental organizations. You need to get there. You need to see when their meetings are. You need to, get in there. Okay. If you are in health and wellness, if you help people with a particular type of diagnosis, diabetes, hypertension, Hashimoto's, fibromyalgia, inflammation, there are groups and associations all over the place. You need to get in there, not as a, to see how you can help these people, see how you can, share what you do and provide information to them. You could be a speaker, provide it, get up and speak in front of the group. And I, have plenty of business cards. And what we have here is, fact sheets, okay, about yourself. One sheet of who you are, how you help people, what are the benefits working with you, what are the outcomes people will get with you, what is your price points, all that on a fact sheet. So people have something to go away with and ponder and let it stew in their mind, and they may grab it, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, they may pull it out and call you and book an appointment. So do not, those are great areas to get clients. Okay. We talked about attending speaker events, and then I already talked about Nextdoor, okay, which is another way to see how you can get clients. Okay, now there's about three of you on here. Do you have anything to add that you think about locally that would be great to tap into to find your ideal clients? Just drop it down in the chat and I'll announce it for sure. Okay, so I'm going to repeat because some of you just jumped on. I'm going to go through these 10 things quickly. All right, so write them down. Okay, and start thinking about your local community. What I would do is then go in on Google search or whatever search bar you use and put in local, where are local clubs that are associated with your niche. Okay, and see what pops up. It may not be exactly in your community. It may be 20 minutes away. It may be a half hour away, but you certainly could drive around or take a bus or, train or whatever transportation you use. So clubs, local meetup groups, meetup.com, they're back in the swing of things. They're starting to meet in person again. So that's another one. You could even also start your own meetup. Very easy to do. Be administrator of a meetup and have people come to the meetup. And that's where you teach something and then they see you as an expert and then they want to work with you. Okay, that's another thing you could do. Trade shows. Do not buy a table. Do not buy a section. Do not do that. Go around and pick up all the business cards from your ideal clients that are there. And then make a time specifically 3 to 5 days later and call them up and say that you were at the trade show, the booth was too busy, you'd like to have a conversation with them, see how you can serve them, okay? Industry conferences. Excuse me, association meetings, events, any kind of event where your ideal client will be hanging out, any kind of networking event. Okay, so if you are specifically working with women, look for the local networking events for women in business because they're more apt to promote you and get to know you and refer you. Any social function, you should be talking about what you do and who you help. Think referrals. Have cards with you, have your fact sheets with you, flyers about what you do. Job boards, local job boards. So think Nextdoor, Craigslist, and there are others. Just put in the search bar job boards in your area. Okay, then search by your niche and see what people are asking for. Professional organizations, okay, that's more nationally, but you got to show up at the conferences once a year. Join them, okay. Join one. They're usually, find ones that are least expensive. If you're just starting out, you don't want to be joining everything all at once, little bit at a time. Join it, go to one of their conferences, bring enough business cards, fact sheets with you, and start mingling and circulating and networking, okay? And just know you're starting the chat at these events, and then you move it to the next conversation, which is more personalized and private, with a conversation on Zoom or on the phone, okay? Attending any kind of speaker event in your local area that your ideal clients would show up at, okay? You're not the speaker, but maybe somebody else is a speaker. It's okay, just like there are many of us, your particular niche, there's many of us online. I might go to a speaker event and the guy on the stage or the woman on the stage I don't get the right vibe from that person, but I meet someone that does the same thing and I'm more in connection with that person. Okay, so do not think that you're stepping on people's toes by showing up at other people's speaking events, okay, and marketing yourself. All right, and then I already said next door. So let's see, hi, Tiffany. Let's see if I can see this. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Volunteer opportunities are good for networking. Angela, great. So what are you thinking as far as what kind of volunteer opportunities? I'm trying to think. Get on boards, board of directors. I just became a president of a board. So, that's another way to get out into the community. Although I'm representing something else than what I do, people want to know what I do. Okay. So, already I have a client from being on this board of directors. Okay. So get on a board. Usually the, length of time on a board is 2 years. And they meet once a month, and it's kind of doable. Although, look to see how much work is involved when you volunteer your services. Okay. So, really check out what are the volunteer services and how many people will you be around or exposed to. Okay. And will you be exposed to your network or your niche or your ideal client? Okay. Because you don't want to waste your precious time. When you're building your business from the beginning, a lot of time and effort is start to grow it. Okay. So you really want to focus in your time and energy. You don't want to be scattered all over the place. So really vet those, any kind of organization, association, or trade show, or whatever you're doing. Okay. You want to vet it to say, is it worth my time? Is it worth my time? Okay. For instance, let me tell you another little story about me. Years ago, when I was, it was part of a women's network, eWomen Network. Okay. It's very national. It's usually in all the big cities, eWomen National. And, I was there for, I think, 3 years. And then finally it dawned on me, I'm spending all this money to belong to the, there was a dues, and then there was a lunch at a country club, money going out. And so I looked at over time, I did a year, how much money was going out and what was my return on investment. Okay. The return on the investment did not match what I was putting out over 3 years. So I'm out, not the great place for me to be. So you want to be doing that with all of these. Okay. Well, how much time are you spending in those areas? What is the investment that you're spending in those areas? And then look at what is the return on your investment. Okay. Another area, which I do not think for most of us in the coaching industry, these BNI groups are not great for us. I really don't think. They're kind of, they're business owners. There's not a ton of referrals going on in there. They're a lot of money. They're like $1,000 a year. You really, you may want to try it out and see if it's worth your time, see what you're, are you getting clients from it, but is it worth your investment in time? Those things you have to show up weekly, right? Is every week. So really measure it. I mean, don't get sucked into being in these clubs or organizations where you're not getting a return on your time and your investment. Okay, that's what I have for you. Same with Chamber of Commerce. Generally you can show up at chambers. You can go for 2 sessions for free, and then you have to pay. Okay, so you want to look at that too, because that also is around $800,000 a year to show up. So you may try it for a year, but really look at your return on your investment. Are you getting sales from it? So what you want to do when you go and try these things is you want to see who is in the audience. Who are members? Are these your ideal clients? These may be all business owners, but they don't need you. Okay, they don't need you. They need something else. All right, you want to really use those 2 sessions, which is only an hour. You only get an hour to network like crazy and really qualify. Is the room filled with members that are your ideal client? If they're not, do not join. Okay, it's just a money suck and a drain suck and a time suck. Okay. All right, you guys. What else? Anything else? I think I've covered everything. If you have other ideas, just drop them below. I think, what I would do is schedule in at least once a month, get out of the computer, network, find groups, find another avenue to tap into. Okay. Maybe you try 3 things a month in the beginning. Get out of, I have to freshen up too, where I'm networking. Okay. It's gotten a bit stale. So I too need to freshen up and get out there and get my business out in front of more people locally. All right. Okay, you guys, that's what I have for you for today. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.